Good afternoon, Master Duel fans. James Polk here. Now, first things first, before we begin on this, looking at the opponent's extra deck, so basically there is nothing, so I'm literally convincing myself True Dracos, Monarchs, or even Clifforts, just in case. Who knows where this leads to. And this should be a challenge. Tenacity of the Monarchs. So hard once per turn on the Tenacity. Reveal one monster in your hand with 24 or 28 attack and 1000 defense. Just to add a Monarch spell trap from deck to hand except Tenacity. Reveals Caius the Shadow Monarch. Now, first thing first. If anyone ever plays the solo story of Monarchs, you should already know what's up about how Monarchs work. So basically, the mission of Monarchs is that they end up getting their effects off first chance they are tribute summoned in any shape or form. In this one for Caius, target one card anywhere on the field, banish it, and if you do, burn your opponent 1000 if it happens to be a dark monster. Reveals Caius, adding in the Monarch Stormforth. Once during this turn, if you would tribute summon a monster, well, technically, if you would tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute one monster your opponent controls as if you don't own one. And then hard once on the Stormforth. And then we basically, for the Monarch peoples, do not care about the no special from extra because they don't play extra. So it's just straight up Tenacity, reveal, and then just straight up passes. Activate Spirit Charmers, ditch Lina. Add the spell, set Unpossessed, because we already got the other trap on board. Activates the spell, sets the trap. Normal summon win. Specials Ren Ryu. And the two wins go to work. Link off the win into Artemis. Activates Monarch Stormforth, tributes Ranryu, and this is where the game is already way past over. Vanity's Fiend made it happen, and as a disclaimer, that was so not the right move that the Monarch player made. I am so mad that my opponent dropped Vanity's Fiend on me. So, in this case about Vanity's Fiend, can't be special, simple, no one special summons. So basically at this rate, if I don't find myself a normal summonable, familiar possessed monster sooner rather than later to take out Vanity's Fiend, chances are Vanity's Fiend is going to end up winning the game by itself, not gonna lie. Vanity's Fiend over Artemis. Drew into the trap, but we already got a trap face down. So it's just straight up hard pass. Activates Domain of the True Monarch. So as a field spell, no cards in your extra gimmick. And you are the only player that controls a tribute summon monster your opponent cannot special from the extra deck. Basically, Vanity's Fiend is a card that does it all itself. If a tribute summon monster you control attacks an opponent's monster, extra 800 attack during damage count. So basically, this is Monarch's version of Unpossessed. And then once per turn, you can reduce the level of one monster of 28 attack, 1000 defense in your hand by 2 until the end of the turn, even if they are after summoned or set, and even if it ends up leaving. Vanity's Fiend for 24. Draws into Instant Fusion, which is literally blocked by Vanity's Fiend as a standalone card by itself. Activates March of the Monarchs and At this rate, this is way past game over, and I should have scooped earlier by seeing this holy trinity. Well, technically, more like a duo. Vanity's Fiend and March of the Monarchs. So the case about March of the Monarchs is that tribute summon monsters you control can't be killed by card effects, and no player can target them within card effects. And obviously, they don't care about not special from extra. Vanity's Fiend and March of the Monarchs. This is even worse. And then opponent sets a monster. Finally drew into Ranryu just for the sake of the attack boost difference. Ranryu over set monster, which happens to be Max C. Now, first things first, as soon as he got rid of Vanity's Fiend for that tribute summon of Aether, the Heavenly Monarch, this is the part where the Monarch player is letting me play this game again, and this is something that the Monarch player do not want to do right this minute. So, the case about Aether, the Heavenly Monarch, tribute summon this card by tributing one tribute summon monster, of course, and then if this card is tribute summon, send 2 Monarch spells and traps with different names from hand and or dead to the grave, and if you do, special 1 monster with 24 or more attack and 1000 defense from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase. And on top of that, during your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your hand, you can banish 1 Monarch spell trap card from your graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon this card, and it is indeed a quick effect. Activates Aether, flips up Unpossessed, sends away Pantheism of the Monarchs and the Prime Monarch. So, Pantheism of the Monarchs. First things first. During the Monarch structure deck, back in 2016 season, the Monarch deck actually did end up winning at Nationals, who goes by the name of Eric Christensen. So, shout out to you on winning the whole entire Nationals back at 2016 with Monarchs of all things. So, Pantheism of the Monarchs. Send 1 Monarch spell trap from hand to graveyard, draw 2 cards. You can banish this card, reveal 3 Monarch spell traps from your deck, including copies. Your opponent choose 1 for you to add to the hand, and then the rest get shuffled back. And then the graveyard effect of Pantheism is hard ones. And then Prime Monarch, on the other hand, as a soft once per turn, target 2 Monarch spells and traps in your graveyard, shuffle them back, then draw 1. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 other Monarch spell trap from your grave, special summon this in defense as a normal. Very light, level 5, 1000 attack, 24 defense, and it is not a trap monster. And the Reborn effect of Prime hard ones. And then Aether, special out another Aether. And thanks to tributing all Vanity's Fiend, activate partnership, special liner, get rid of the field spell, just so that they're not going to get the 800 boost. And the draw card off from Ashwell's Clutch, Aether over Ranryu, Unpossessed to get Hita, the second Aether, over Lina, Pantheism from the graveyard activates, but drawing the Ash off from Awakening spell is a clutch move. And Aether goes back in hand. Hita over Aether. And just to go for the record, I know most be wondering why not instant fusion. That's because my life points is lower, by the way, so I'm way out of life point range for instant fusion. Plus, that ends up being a dead card. And on top of that, March of the Monarchs still exists, so there's no point mind controlling the first Aether. Sets the trap, and Prime Monarch gets reborn by banishing the domain. activates the second domain, tribute summons Caius the Shadow Monarch. Now, I felt like this is the most crucial mistake that a lot of Monarch players do be making. Like, at first, I thought to myself, as soon as Caius gets dropped, by the way, half Caius would have been targeted itself, I think? Nope. March of the Monarchs conflicted the issues because it says no one, as a Knighted player, can target him with the card effect. So, it's a good thing I kept March of the Monarchs on board just so that the Monarch player cannot target the Caius, just so that the Monarch player cannot game me this way. So, Caius targets the partnerships. Partnerships active. Revives Lina, kill the second domain so that the Monarch player would not get the boost. Awakening spell through the storm, but you know, we got too much face-up cards. Activates the field spell. Activates Aether in response to the field spell. And I believe Banish Storm 4, tribute to Caius for the Aether. Aether's effect would attempt to trigger, but field spell keeps Aether in check. And the same old song and dance begins. Hita and Lina for Lina Link. Awakening spell drew into Ossa. Lina, steal the Aether. Field spell, shuffle Ossa, add Nefarious. Special Nefarious, normal to Ash. Aether over opponent's Aether. Lina and Ash for game, but Prime blocks it. Mind controls the Prime. Lina Link and Nefarious for Reaper. Reaper brings back Ren Ryu. Prime and Reaper for Ossa Link. Reaper gets the last partnerships. Ossa Link steals Max C. Ossa Link and Ash for Hita Link. Max C and Ren Ryu for Win Link. Hita and Win Link for Celine. Celine with 6 spell counters, sets partnerships. Celine revives Hita off from... Yep, Celine revives Hita by getting rid of 3 spell counters, of course. And then in this position, I rather keep Celine on board just in case we need more access to the main deck Familiar Possess to get our boost up. And it's also just so that the field spell is going to be live at least once. And I also chose not to go directly to access code Talker. It is because if I clear out March of the Monarchs, chances are opponent has Lightning Storm in hand. So I think that this is the best position to be in this current board state before the opponent gets to go. Prime Monarch gets reborn by banishing domain. Activates partnerships to revive Win, kill the Prime, Awakening, draw Pankratops, and Monarch player scoops up. And in all honesty, you should have kept the Vanity's Fiend on board just so that the Monarch player would end up winning the game by Vanity's Fiend itself. But since you tributed the Vanity's Fiend, Charmer player is free to play once again and ended up with the win. So guys, that's going to do it with this next matchup. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And hit that notification bell to keep yourselves constantly updated. And I'll see you guys next time. Later.